It was a beautiful day, and I thought I would take a long hike in the woods to clear my mind from the stress of my daily routine. I put on my hiking boots, grabbed my backpack, and headed to the woods. The forest was dense and filled with tall trees that cast a shadow on the ground. I loved the peaceful sound of the leaves rustling as I made my way down the path. As I walked deeper into the woods, I began to feel like I was being watched. I shrugged it off, thinking that it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. Suddenly, I heard something snap behind me. I turned to look, but there was nothing there. I quickened my pace, thinking it's better not to take chances. My heart was racing. Hands were shaking, but I continued down the path. I couldn't shake the feeling of being followed, like there was someone or something lurking in the woods. The wind picked up and I heard whispering in my ear. I turned around again, and this time I saw a dark figure moving towards me. Holy crap! My heart was pounding out of my chest now. I turned to run, but tripped on a rock and fell down. My backpack fell open, spilling its contents. I quickly jumped up, and as I reached for the backpack, I saw the figure was gone. Was it just my imagination? Confused, and in a panic, I scrambled to gather my things, and as I was putting everything back in my backpack, I spotted something strange. I saw a handwritten note on the ground. It read, "I see you." It sent chills down my spine. Okay, officially terrified now. I turned to get up, but something cold touched my shoulder. It felt like an icy hand. I quickly turned around, but nothing was there. Suddenly, I began to hear children's laughter. I couldn't pinpoint the source, but the laughter was getting closer and louder. I decided to run, trying to escape the laughter, but my feet wouldn't budge. I was rooted to the ground, literally frozen in fear. All of a sudden, I saw the figure emerge from behind the trees. It was the silhouette of a woman with long hair covering her face. The woman spoke in a low whisper that I could barely hear. She said, "I've been waiting for you. Welcome home." And she started coming towards me, fast. It just took my terror to another level, and my adrenaline kicked in, big time. I've never run so fast in my life. I made it out of the woods without even a glance back, but I could sense an evil presence, as if the woman was somehow all around me, or maybe just behind me. The feeling started to fade, and I made it back into town. I don't know what that thing was, but I do know I'm never going back in the woods again. I once had a teddy bear named Pooh Bear. Not very original, I know, and we were inseparable. I think I got him when I was about 4. I loved that bear. Once my brother snatched Pooh from me and punched him. I remember bursting in tears, but I laugh about that now. Something I'll never laugh about happened to Pooh. I think I was 8 at the time. I'm not sure. But my age is the only part I'm unsure of. Everything else that I'm going to tell you happened, and if you don't believe it, that's okay. I doubt I would believe it either. I went to bed with my Pooh as per my usual routine. I woke up startled but foggy, taking a second or two to remember where I was and what night it was, etc. Immediately I noticed Pooh missing. He was always next to me. So I scanned my room. Not there. Maybe my mom had took him when I was asleep to put him in the wash. I can't remember exactly where else I thought he could be, but I knew that I needed him back. Now, I left my room, marching to my mom's to retrieve my beloved bear. Only Mom wasn't in her room. Strange. I knew it was late, the middle of the night even. She wouldn't be in my brother's room, would she? I checked, doing that thing of turning on every available light as I progressed through the house. No one was in my brother's room. Genuinely worried now, I marched slowly downstairs, trying to manufacture anger at my mom and brother for staying up late and falling asleep, for scaring me. They weren't there. I was young, but I knew my mom well enough to know she would never ever leave me home alone. My brother might play a trick on me, but not my loving mom. I checked the whole house, the whole deathly quiet house. What do you do when you can't escape that level of fear? I had nowhere else to check, nowhere to go. Then I heard a noise from the basement. I'd forgot about the basement. This knowledge terrified and soothed me in equal measure. They must be down there, I don't know why, but they must. I was terrified. I hated the basement. I approached the door and realized it was slightly open, just a crack. Now up to this point, I'd kept silent. Don't know why, maybe an intuition. But I pressed open that door and screamed, literally screamed with everything I had, "Mom?" No answer. I went down a couple of steps just to reach the light switch. And there was Pooh. I could see his lower half sticking out from behind a toolbox. I felt as if I was being called into the basement to retrieve him. No thanks. I ran back to my room and hid under the bed. My mom woke me the next morning by calling breakfast from downstairs. So it had been a dream. Just a bad dream. But why did I wake under the bed? Am I a sleepwalker now? But Pooh was actually missing, and at breakfast my mom and brother asked me why all the lights were on in the house when they got up. My brother said if it was me, then I'm in trouble. I asked them if they left the house, but they didn't know what I was talking about. Later I told my mom what happened, and she was genuinely concerned. She looked for Pooh everywhere, including the basement, but he was never seen again. This story still gives me chills to this day. One summer evening I decided to take a walk around my neighborhood to clear my head and enjoy the warm breeze. I didn't live in the best part of town, but it was quiet, so I didn't suspect anything unusual. However, not long into my walk I just couldn't shake off the feeling of someone watching me. I looked behind me. Nothing. I looked again. I noticed a man following me. He was walking in the shadows, trying not to be seen. It started off with him being about 50 feet behind me, but as I picked up my pace, so did he. As I walked faster and faster, the man kept closing in on me. His footsteps became louder and closer, so much so that I could hear him breathing heavily. I was so scared that I didn't even turn around to see who this man was. I just started running, hoping to somehow escape him. But he had other plans. The man picked up his pace and started running towards me. All I could hear were the thuds of his feet on the pavement and my heart pounding so hard that I thought it would burst out of my chest. I knew I had to run faster, but I was so paralyzed with fear that I could barely even lift my legs. Then out of nowhere a car drove past us, and the man disappeared into the shadows. I was shaking and drenched in sweat, still not knowing who this man was and what he wanted from me. I sprinted back to my house, locking every door and window. For the next 3 hours I sat alone in terror, peeking out every window to see if anyone had followed me home. Nobody had. Every now and then I wondered to myself who it was that was chasing me, and what would have happened to me if that car hadn't driven by at that exact moment